Krishnaya Bhakti Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Guru Devi Shesha Shunyavadi Prasthana Hey Guru Jnana Dina Bandhu Swananda Gata Purana Krishna Vrindavana Hina Hita Vitana Prasida Radha Panyapura Nama Shrishtam Manumati Sachi Putra Matra Savukam Rupam Tisaga Jumapuri Maturi Vishnavati Radha Kundam Girivaram Maho Radhika Madhavasam Bhakpadisa Patika Shri Guru Vande Nanda Adviteshwaram Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhum Nityavati Yat Prasada Sadhya Shastra Nityanandam Purnam Sarvanam Param Harinama Padam Devam Avadhuti Shri Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavi Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare. And my respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnavis in attendance to this Sangha. Vancha Kopatur Vishta Kripa Sindhu Devacha Titanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo. So instead of just lecturing, I received a list of questions from Mataji. And really anything I'd want to say in a lecture, excuse me, is contained in these questions. So let us jump to those questions and discuss. I have 3 questions here. If something comes to your mind, jot it down, and we can try and address that also today. And then I understand there's a program, similar program tomorrow, same topic. So today we're discussing Grihastha Ashram, and I have some very important, relevant questions sent to me. The first one is, why is it important to be in Grihastha Ashram? Why is it compulsory to get married? Can't they stay brahmacharinis? The answer to this is that there is no brahmacharini ashram. This is something that was created by Srila Prabhupada because so many intelligent, sincere female devotees were coming forward to participate in Lord Chaitanya Sankirtan movement. So how to accommodate them? Typically, in Vedic culture, woman is always under the care and protection of her father in her youth, and her husband in her middle age, and in her retired age under the care of her children. This is the Vedic system, and everyone was expected to be married. Now there's a reason for that. It's not just some arbitrary lording it over the female gender to push them down, to control them. This isn't the point. The point is that women have great power in human society. And from one point of view, women are more powerful than men. And that power has to be rightly channeled. We see in the history of human society, many sages, rishis, sannyasis, brahmacharis, all fell to the allurement, the attraction of women. So that has to be rightly channeled for the welfare of society. Shastra says, Yuvatinam yata yuni yunam cha yuvata yata manobhyaramatam tadvan manobhyaramatam tadvan. It's just as young men are attracted to young women are attracted to young men. This is natural. Devotee prays, let me be attracted to you. So before we're attracted to Krishna and lose attraction for the opposite sex, what do? Ashram. Ashram means shelter. Brahmacharini ashram is conceived by Srila Prabhupada as a temporary situation to care for sincere women that came forward to serve in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. But that everyone is expected to be married. It's not a forced thing. It's not forced. The principle is that woman should be protected because what she offers to society is the most valuable thing, and that is the next generation. If you have a valuable diamond ring or a gold bracelet or something intrinsically valuable, do you keep it on your front porch where anyone can take it? Of course not. It's a foolish thing. we protect something that's valuable. So women are extremely valuable in society because they offer to society irreplaceable value. That is the next generation. Arjuna, in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, made this argument to Krishna. When Krishna said that you should go out and fight in this battlefield, and Arjuna said, right, and rightly so, said if all these men are killed, what about the women? He said, Dharma viva bhat Krishna pudushanti kulastriya streshashu varshnaya jayate varnashankar. If women become polluted, then what is the result? Varnashankar. Just useless, unprincipled children. We see in our society these beautiful children that come, they're with folded hands and Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Bol. They're not kids come, hey dude, hey what's going on, yo man, da da da, shucking and jiving and drugs and sex and motorcycles and crime and drugs and alcohol. This is a result of unprincipled relationships between men and women. So when women are protected by a husband that loves them, who cares for them, who provides for them, the result, natural result, is dharmic children. Now the other thing is just from a practical point of view. Most women will get married, even amongst those who say, I'll never get married, because perhaps in their family experience or in the experience of friends, they see disaster relationships, disaster marriages, and I don't want to go through that. Well, your life is different from everyone else's life. Your life is unique. So the fact is that most women will be married. So even amongst women who say, I'll never get married, most of you will get married. Even in the life of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he started one group of young men, and their principle was to remain brahmachari. They had a very large group of men. They all made a vow, I will never marry. But all of them married, except Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. This is a natural thing. Why? Yuvati nam yatayuni. Men are attracted to women, women are attracted to men. This is the character of this world. And to sanctify that relationship where women are not exploited, where a man comes along and says the magic words, I love you. And a woman melts, oh, he loves me. And if he's unprincipled, what does he really want? He wants to enjoy your body. He doesn't want to take care of you, provide for you, give you children, give you clothes, shelter, food, jewelry, relationship, love. He simply wants to enjoy your body. And women are very prone to be influenced by those three magic words, I love you. So you may be thinking right now in your life that I'm very aloof from this. But be careful, because many things change in life. You're all young, and from the perspective of a person who's probably your grandfather's age, trust me, many things change in your life. So best thing is to find shelter with a person, devotee person, who cares for you, who wants to protect for you, who wants to protect you, who wants to see you happy, see you situated in spiritual life, see you progressive in spiritual life, see your needs are provided for, wants to give you children, shelter, happiness. This is married life. Srila Prabhupada said that when husband is properly situated in Krishna Bhakti and a wife is chaste and faithful, then married life is heaven. Of course, we see many discrepancies in that. That's the other side of the coin, but we're talking in the ideal world. That we should find shelter. Ashram means shelter. Grihastha ashram means a shelter where people find shelter from the influence of material life. Now, some people find shelter in celibate life, brahmachari ashram, sannyasa ashram, vanaprastha ashram, grihastha ashram. They're all ashram, a place to find shelter. But most of your friends will be married. So where is your social circle? Your brothers and sisters, if you have brothers and sisters, most of them will marry. They'll have their family life. Your parents will pass away. Where is your shelter? Who is there to care for you? This is the principle of Grihastha Ashram. To be associated with a person who more than any other person in the world cares for you. This is the principle of Grihastha Ashram. So it's not just a draconian principle that you have to be married. They're making me get married. But there's good reason for that. And the reason is for your own welfare, for your own future happiness. So I hope that answers that question. Now we can discuss that in depth more if you like, or we can move on to the second question. What would you like to do? Answer to the question I'm asking you. Do you want to discuss this first question more in depth, or shall we move on to the second question?
Prabhuji, I'm just checking with, do anyone has any question regarding this? Okay, I think Prabhuji, we can move to the next. So if anything comes up, we can ask you. To ask.
Yeah, I hope that makes
Thank
sense
you,
to
Prabhuji.
you.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you so much.
Second question is, what is the right age of getting married? These days, we want to be independent, successful in corporate world, and we start looking for marriage late. Is this the right approach? I'll be frank, I'm old-fashioned guy. And not just old-fashioned, but this is what I've learned from studying Prabhupada's books, from Srila Prabhupada's practical example in his life, and from the example of my godbrothers and godsisters also. My point of view on this question, and I think it's based in Shastra, is that this is backwards thinking. That I want to be successful now in my young life, and later I'll get married. But what happens is that people become entrenched in corporate life or their professional life, and then it's very difficult to move backwards and start a family when you're 35, 40 years old. Best thing is to start a family, be married, be stable in your ashram, your shelter. And when your children are mature, then move on. And if you like to start a business, you want to enter the corporate world, you want to enter the professional world, take advantage of your education, then no problem. But woman's special contribution to society is that she raises children. She gives children love. A father can't give love to a child like a mother can give love to a child. This is a very special thing, sacred thing, what mother gives to society. So if you want to have a job and make money and be successful in the corporate world, no problem. But wait till your children are older. I'll tell you a story in my practical experience. Before my wife and I were married, she used to work in a child care facility. In America, they have these child care facilities where people have babies and they drop the kids off. So she was taking care of 8 or 10 little toddlers up to the age of 1 year, from 3 weeks old until 1 year old. The lady becomes pregnant, and because she has a job, she drops her baby off. So my wife was taking care of these little babies, feeding them, pampering them, rocking them, kuchi, and comforting them when they cry, and wrapping them up in blankets, putting them to sleep, giving them love. So 6 or 8 hours later, when the mother comes to pick them up, they cry. Why are they crying? Because they think, who is this woman? I'm being cared for by this person who's showing me love. Who is this person? They don't even recognize their own mother because they're not getting love from their own mother. This isn't the way that God has intended human society to be organized. Woman's sacred duty is to take care of children. So this is backwards thinking. Be successful now in your youth, in the corporate world, in your professional world, and then later take up family life. Do family life now. And what is the right age? The right age to take up married life is when you find the right guy. When you find someone you can build a life with, who's an asset to your Krishna consciousness. Another point is that if you make your professional life the most important thing in your life, when you decide to get married when you're 35 years old or 40 years old, all the good. God. Think of that, please. Someone else will have married them. Who will you find to be married to? Another point is that success in the corporate world is not actual success. At the time of your death, will your success, your position, your degree, your income, your bank balance, will that be an asset to you? It's not an asset to you. These things are temporary. They're ultimately meaningless from the point of view of the soul, from the point of view of spiritual progress. It's not the goal. Success in the corporate world is not the goal of life. But if you're destined for that, you'll get that at any stage of life. Better to be a mother and a wife. And when your family is older and more stable, enter business life, corporate life, professional life, you can desire, no problem. But the most important thing you can give society as a mother and as a wife is to raise children with love and train them in Krishna Bhakti. And the other thing is, if you do become successful in your youth, how will you want to lead? You'll be entrenched in your corporate life. And the other thing is, in your business life, will your associates care for you? They're your competition. They want to push you down so they can go up. Will your boss care for you? There's also many instances where a woman becomes exploited by their boss. They become sexually exploited. They fall in love with their boss. And then who's a married man? All kinds of disasters come from this also. So does your boss love you? Can your associates in the corporate world love you? They cannot, but your kids will love you. Please reflect on this. Your children will love you. Your association in the corporate world don't care if you live or you die. You're the competition. And if you want to take on responsibility in ISKCON's also a corporation. ISKCON needs thoughtful, dynamic women, intelligent women, as preachers, writers, teachers, musicians, administrators. They're in Krishna Bhakti, serving in a spiritual society for the welfare of human society. The rewards are very great. Those rewards will carry with you throughout your life. What you gain in the corporate world won't mean a thing at the end of your life. Rather, they'll drag you to a next life. So what we do in Krishna Bhakti drags us to Krishna Loka, to Goloka Vrindavan. So if you want to be dynamic, if you're a dynamic person, you want to make your mark in the world, you want to do something positive for society, then there's a whole wide world, ISKCON world, waiting for people like you to preach Krishna Bhakti, to write, to teach, to do music. Some devotees, just as musicians, travel all over the world just singing. I'd like to listen to this one devotee. She sings just heart-melting bhajans. Janavi Mataji from UK. She travels all over the world just singing. You want to do something wonderful? There's so much you can do just within ISKCON. Why get dragged into material life and the association of non-devotees who want you to go out drinking, who want you to go on dates, who want you to use drugs, so many unpleasant things. This is a satsanga. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asked, who is a devotee? He said, a satsanga tyaga e vaishnavachar. A devotee is a person who gives up a satsanga, the association with non-devotees. So how corporate life means this? You're associated with non-devotees who don't give a damn about Krishna Bhakti. They care about money, they care about position, they care about getting ahead. They want to walk on your head. You're the competition. They don't care about you. They could care less whether you live or die. So what's important in life? If you want to do something, if you want to make your mark in the world, do something in ISKCON. Be happy in ISKCON. So right age to get married, when you find the right guy. My strong advice to you, and I say the same thing to the men, that if you want to be married, good, no problem, but marry a devotee. There's even a devotee website, marryadevotee.com. It's true, marryadevotee.com, check it out. So marry a devotee, because if you don't marry a devotee, if you fall in love with a non-devotee, then you're just going to create a very difficult situation for you in your life. He'll want to go dancing in the club and you'll want to go dancing at the temple. He'll want to eat butter chicken and you want to eat cauliflower pakora. You want to go to the movies and you want to go to ISKCON drama. So marry a devotee with whom you have that you can share your life with, the most important things of your life, which is Krishna Bhakti. Devotees have this one, Vyavasayatmika Buddhi Ekeha Kuru Nandana. Our vision is one, we want Krishna Bhakti. So don't be associated with a person who only wants sense gratification, life in the material world, forget about God, what's the use of God. Marry a devotee and be happy in your life. So what is independence? You say you want to be independent, successful in the corporate world. There's no independence. There's absolutely no independence because you become a slave to your boss. What does corporate life mean? He pays you just enough so you don't quit, right? He gives you just enough money so you don't quit. And you work just enough so you don't get fired. It's just a business relationship. How is that happy life? How is it independent, successful life? So don't put off marriage. Find someone that cares for you. Find a devotee that cares for you and move ahead in your life. If you're meant to be successful in the world, that success will come to you by your own destiny. Sacrificing your life to become successful in the material world at the expense of your spiritual life, then you may lose both. You may not be successful in corporate life and you sacrifice your spiritual life to get it. Srila Prabhupada tells a story about a man, a Brahmana, who gave up his Brahminical principles to eat in the house of a non-devotee, to eat in the house of a meat-eating person. He gave up his principle, but then he goes there to eat and he didn't even get his hunger satisfied. He didn't even get good food. So this is what can happen also. In the name of progress in the corporate world, you sacrifice your spiritual life and you may not make progress in your corporate life. So you lose on both sides. You're always the gainer if you come to Krishna Bhakti. ISKCON needs devotees like you, who are dynamic, intelligent, thoughtful devotees, to write, to teach, to make music, to attract the public, to make a mark, do something in the world positive for the welfare of human society. So be happy in your life, be married, be stable, and if you want material success, then do that. Any questions on this second question? Any comments or questions on this second question? Mataji's?
Yes, Prabhuji, I got a question from one devotee. So Mataji is asking that, as you mentioned, that women should marry early and raise children in Krishna consciousness, but sometimes due to bad circumstances in the family, it is not possible to get married in early age. So it's because that some girls might have some family responsibility of their parents. So what should we do in that circumstance?
That your parents should take responsibility for your life. It's their responsibility to get their daughter married. This is their responsibility. This is father's responsibility, his sacred duty. In traditional Bengali culture, if a woman wasn't married by the time she got her menses, then this was disaster. Prabhupada's wife, Prabhupada said, that my wife said, I'm going to drown myself in Ganga if you don't get my daughter married. She was 13. So this may not be practical. Practically speaking, is not practical in today's age. But the principle is there. It's father's duty. He's under obligation to get his daughter married. The son is a different responsibility. Daughter is a huge responsibility. It's heavy weight on father's head to see that his daughter is married and settled in life, that she's protected. She's just not wandering on the street unprotected, but that she's under care of a qualified young man. This is parents' responsibility. It's not children's responsibility, first thing, to care for parents. Our responsibility comes in our parents' life as they age, of course. As they care for us, we care for them. But it's their responsibility to see children married. This is their responsibility. When children are grown, when they have some financial stability, and they're able to care for parents, that's a different thing. But in their youth, parents' responsibility is to see children are married and stable. Otherwise, how can the children take care of parents? So I don't know the exact circumstance, and I don't mean to, offend anyone, but it seems to me that parents' first responsibility is for their children, not the other way around. Family life, of course, gets complicated. Prabhupada said it means politics and diplomacy. So family life certainly can get complicated. But parents' responsibility, number one responsibility of father is to see for the protection of his daughter. I don't know if that answers the question or not. I hope it is useful.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes. Okay, so what if question from one another devotee? She is asking that what if my parents is not convinced for getting married me to a devotee? They want me to get married to a non-devotee. So what should we do in that situation?
You see, this gets complicated. In India, we have the nonsense caste system hanging over our head. Yes, you can get married, but you have to marry Iyengar Brahmin. Not this kind of Brahmin, this kind of Brahmin. Not this kind of Baniya, this kind of Baniya. He has this gets into a whole discussion of what is caste. My father was a surgeon, orthopedic surgeon. So do I become qualified as a surgeon because my father was a surgeon? Does it make sense? I'm a doctor because my father was a doctor. Because your father is a Brahmin, do you become a Brahmin? This is complete hypocrisy. This is apostasy. It's backwards thinking. It doesn't make sense that you get the qualities of your parents. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Prahlad Maharaj was topmost pure devotee, Mahajan. But he was born in the family of Daityas. He was a son of Hiranyakashipu, number one demon. So we don't necessarily get the qualities of our parents. Therefore, Krishna says in Gita, Chaturpanyam Maya Shishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha, that there are divisions in life. We're not all the same. But the distinction, Vibhagasha, means the character, the divisions, the characteristic, is based on guna and karma, your quality and how you work in the world. It's not based, there's no mention of janma, no mention of birth. So what is he meaning? Find someone you can live with, that you can be happy with, and be married. Would it be more, just ask your parents, would you be happy if I marry someone in our caste and I'm unhappy, or I marry someone outside of my caste and I'm happy? Do you actually want my happiness? Or do you want me just to follow your direction because of some social pressure on you to marry within your caste? Do you actually, if you want my happiness, then allow me to marry according to my need. I'm a devotee. I've dedicated my life to the principles of Krishna Bhakti. And in Krishna Bhakti, we have no regard for so-called caste system. So ask your parents, do you want my happiness? Is my happiness your happiness? Or is your social prestige more important to you? And this is oftentimes a huge disaster in people's life, in devotees' life, because parents' social prestige is more important than their son or daughter's happiness. And it has destroyed many, not many, it's destroyed some potentially happy relationships, simply based on this false idea of caste. Divisions are there, but birth has nothing to do with it. Krishna says nothing about janma. Maharaj Yudhishthira was told by Narad Muni, Yasya lakshanam koktam pumsabrana vyamajikam yanendrachapi disheta tattena vavinadisha. If someone has the characteristics of a Brahmana, even though born in a lower family, he is a Brahmana. And if someone has the characteristics of a lower family, although born in the family of Brahmanas, he is classified by his character, not by his birth. Birth is irrelevant, meaningless idea as far as caste is concerned. So ask your parents, are you happy in my happiness? I mean, I'm not encouraging you to fight with your parents, don't get me wrong. But these are relevant questions you can ask them. Do you really want my happiness? Do you accept me as a devotee? And this also can be a problem. My parents were complete non-devotee mleches. They never accepted. My father is a very educated professional man. Orthopedic surgeon, lieutenant colonel, United States Air Force, professor of orthopedics, University of California. What can I say to him? I was always his son. He had no respect for my understanding of Krishna Bhakti. So what to do? But we have to stand strong in our own conviction and live our life, because one day your parents are gone, and what is the meaning to your life if you're stuck in an unhappy marriage just to please your parents? Your relationship with your father and mother is much less in duration than your relationship with a potential husband. You're going to spend your life with your husband, and your parents will pass away in your lifetime. So judge these things carefully before you decide what to do. Hopefully that helps answer your question.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much. Okay, Prabhuji, one more question, that is, if we are looking a devotee profile, like on the sites that is authorized, like a married devotee or devoteematch.com, so how can we judge that, or how can we decide that which devotee is suitable for me or not?
It depends on the website. Some have very extensive information available. I know my godbrother Basu Ghosh Prabhu publishes a list of devotees, about 150 eligible young men, all ISKCON devotees, of different standards in their devotional life. Not all devotees are Mangalarti, 16 rounds, 4 regulatory principles, staunch devotees. My advice is to marry someone like that, but not all devotees are of that standard, both men and women. So in his list, that's one of the questions. And not only caste, education, height, weight, family background, occupation, income, all of the big ones, but these things are also part of the information. So it depends on the website, how much information you have. But don't marry for caste. Marry someone you can live with, that you can be happy with. If you're compatible by caste, so much the better. But it shouldn't be the main consideration. Main consideration should be, is this person a stable devotee? Can he take care of me? Will he treat me with respect? Does he? These are the spiritual considerations. The material considerations are less important. Caste, income, occupation, family, all these other things are less important. First consideration should be, is he a strong devotee? Is he Krishna conscious? Because everything will follow after that. Just like shadow follows form. If I move my arm, the shadow has to follow my arm. The shadow can't move independently from my arm. So everything else will follow from Krishna Bhakti. Your success and happiness in life will follow from Krishna Bhakti, not on account of caste or occupation or income. Those are all, that's like in English we say icing on the cake. The cake is Krishna Bhakti. And if there's some tasty icing on the cake, so much the better. Some, we call icing frosting, the outside sweet portion of the cake. So much the better if there's good income, if there's good family life, if money and caste, okay, fine. But this is the frosting on the cake, it's not the cake. The cake, the substance of the relationship is our Krishna Bhakti, both for wife and for husband. So there should be compatibility in that way. And that's another consideration. Husband and wife aren't always on the same page spiritually. It's not that every marriage is fully Krishna conscious. This is another important thing to understand. If a woman marries a man that's very lax in his spiritual life, how will she be happy? Who has trouble following strictly regulative principles? How will she be happy? And vice versa. If a man is very strict in his life and his wife is not very strict about her principles, how will Husband and wife should be honest about their perspective on following rules, where they are in their spiritual life, and that will automatically develop in course of time. But in the beginning of the relationship, husband and wife should be honest with each other. This is where I'm at. And don't pretend. Don't pretend to be a sadhu, a sadhvi. If you're not, there should be honest communication. And choose your future husband based on the potential for Krishna Bhakti. Because that is our real asset in life. Because even husband and wife, that relationship will also pass. And this we should keep in mind also. I personally have a very wonderful relationship with my wife. We don't fight. She's a very strong devotee. She keeps the house immaculately clean. She's such a first-class pujari. She loves Jagannath. She's from Orissa. I mean, it's a match made in heaven. But one day, one of us will die and one of us will cry. Either I die and she cries, or she dies and I cry. This is the future of every relationship. This is the nature of this material world. So what is important? What is the most important thing? Is our Krishna Bhakti. And to help us get to a higher stage of Krishna consciousness, we accept Ashram, Grihastha Ashram, a shelter from material world where we can cultivate our relationship with Krishna, where we can become better devotees, where we can pass beyond our attachments to this material world, bodily identification, attachment to sense gratification. All of these things will fade away on the strength of our Krishna Bhakti. It's a process. Progress is the name of the game. You can't snap your fingers and say, yeah, I'm now a pure devotee. Not so easy thing. So we accept ashram. So choose that person that you can live with. Such a simple thing. Choose a person that you can be compatible with. If you're materialistic devotee, because materialistic devotee is a devotee first and materialistic second. Devotees are rare people. Anyone who comes to Krishna Bhakti, who's chanting Hare Krishna, who makes Krishna the goal of life, Samahatma Sudurlava, Krishna says, they're great soul, great rare soul, anyone who comes to Krishna Bhakti. But there's all kinds of devotees. Marry a person who's of like mind and try and understand that through the profile. And if you see some potential in the profile, talk to each other. Spend time on the phone talking, trying to get to know the person. This isn't, Bengali, traditional Bengali society of the 1800s, where you meet your spouse at the wedding, at the yagya, and the veil comes off and there's my wife. Oh, okay, I'm seeing her for the first time. And your parents choose you. This is a different societal situation. So I'm not saying that you should go out on dates and you should spend time, you should live together. That's not what I'm saying. You get to know the person, understand the person, follow your heart, because your heart won't lie to you. Follow your intelligence, because your intelligence is given by Krishna. And make progress in your life. Marry someone you can live with. And you use whatever information is available. But if you see some potential, investigate. Don't go into the relationship blind. Go into a relationship in knowledge. And you'll have better success. Just marry someone you can live with, that's all. Anything else? Or shall we move on to the third question?
Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for explaining it so wonderfully. One devotee has a question. Mataji, do you want to ask yourself or should I ask? Okay. She's saying that she has heard that husband should be so qualified that he can act as a shiksha guru for the wife and children and take his dependents back to home, back to Godhead. So if as a woman is still struggling to become fixed up, but desire to have a sincere fixed up husband who has high level of consciousness, is that not correct?
No, A husband is natural Siksha Guru because man's nature, and Srila Prabhupada discusses this in his different purports. Man's nature, we're hardwired. We can't help it. We want to be the boss. We can't help it. Sorry. So somebody has to be the boss. That doesn't mean slave mentality. So husband is naturally Siksha Guru. He should be fixed up, but fixed up is a relative term. Someone who comes to Krishna Bhakti is thousands of times more qualified, even if he's not following regulatory principles very carefully. He's thousands of times more qualified than a non-devotee because he knows what the goal is. He knows what he wants in life. He has an objective. He has the highest objective. And this is an important thing to understand. In Krishna Bhakti, we have the highest objective. We want, in this lifetime, Krishna Prema. We want transference to Goloka Vrindavan. There's no higher goal. There's no higher understanding of God. Radha Krishna is the irreducible Param Tattva, topmost understanding of God. We're aiming for that. So is it something you're going to get overnight? So what is fixed up? There's degrees of fixed up. Even a devotee, neophyte devotee, is thousands of times more qualified than a non-devotee. So by the process of Krishna Bhakti, by chanting, by serving Vaishnavas, reading Prabhupada's books, visiting the temple, supporting the temple, all of these things, our material desires for the course of time become insignificant. That's the personal experience. We lose attraction to material life. But if you're not at that stage of being fixed up, this is natural. It's to be understood. You don't have to be perfect to become perfect. We're imperfect. And we come to a higher stage of Krishna Bhakti by sadhana. We're sadhakas. We're practicing Krishna Bhakti. So naturally, a woman should marry a man that she can look up to, that she has respect for. If he's not practicing Krishna Bhakti very strongly, and you are, how will you respect him? And Prabhupada writes, there's an interesting section in Bhagavatam. I think I can find it. Yeah, I was just reading. It's a very nice section in Bhagavatam. Here. Because the verse says, Patim Tapatitam Bhajet. It says, thus a chaste woman should engage with affection in the service of a husband who is not fallen. In one sentence, there's so much meaning. A chaste woman, that means someone dedicated to a husband, should engage with affection. You serve your affection not because you're supposed to, because you care for him. You want to see him happy also. You care for his spiritual progress in life. You have his interest in mind. You engage with affection in the service of a husband. You serve your husband, and husband serves wife also. It's not a one-way street. This is also an important discussion. Married life is not a one-way street where a wife just serves the husband with all humility and tolerance and servitude and, pati prabhu, all this wash your feet, drink the water type mentality. But husband is also obliged to serve wife. But husband who is not fallen, apatitam bhajet. Apatitam means who is not fallen. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, anyone who is a devotee is sinless. One who is not a devotee, however, is the most fallen and condemned. It is recommended, therefore, that chaste wife not associate with a fallen husband. A fallen husband is one who is addicted to the four principles of sinful activity, namely illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. Specifically, if one is not a soul surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is understood to be contaminated. Thus, a chaste woman is advised not to agree to serve such a husband. It is not that a chaste woman should be like a slave while her husband is a naradama, the lowest of men. Although the duties of a woman are different from those of a man, a chaste wife, a woman, is not meant to serve a fallen husband. If her husband is fallen, it is recommended that she give up his association. So Prabhupada comments here that there's a reciprocation. A woman is not a slave to a fallen husband. So if an intelligent woman will think, let me be very, very careful in choosing who will I marry. Don't get married because of love or lust. Use your brain. Women are also, it's not that women are unintelligent. This is another important thing, if we can divert for a moment. Sometimes we hear brahmacharis especially, sometimes sannyasis saying women are less intelligent, they're stupid, they're this, they're that, they're more lusty, blah, 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 blah. What is first to understand the statement that women are less intelligent, because Bhagavatam says this, but let us understand the meaning. We have to understand what is intelligence. Does intelligence mean IQ in this consideration? It does not. We're not talking IQ, we're talking intelligence means, according to Srila Prabhupada's definition, the ability to discriminate matter from spirit. A woman's not meant to be a muni, a tyagi, sannyasi. Otherwise, how will you raise children? How will you take care of your husband? If you think, hey honey, you're a spirit soul, take care of yourself. Okay, kids, take care of yourself. I'm in transcendence. I'm not this body. I'm not a woman's body. A woman serves husband and wife out of affection. That affection, okay, we can say from the highest spiritual perspective, that affection is Maya. But it's rightly engaged Maya. There's a purpose to that Maya. That Maya elevates us in Krishna Bhakti by doing our duty. The Lord says, or Srimad Bhagavatam says, Atak pumbya dvija sheshna varnashrama vibhagasha sonushthitasya dharmasya sansidir haritoshanam. Sonushthitasya dharmasya means our own occupational duty. Woman's occupational duty is to care for husband and wife and children, to love your kids, to love your husband. That love from the material, fully spiritual point of view is Maya. Who's a child? Who's the husband? We're spirit souls. But is that the perspective of a woman should have? She should cultivate. Internally, she should cultivate that. Externally, she should be in the Maya world of taking care of children and husband. This is less intelligent, the ability to discriminate between matter and spirit. This is sanushthitasya dharma, woman's dharma. And the principle of doing that gives all perfection. Sansiddhir haritoshanam. Krishna is pleased. Does it make a difference if we go back to Godhead from a woman's body as a wife and mother, or we go back to Godhead as a sannyasi? We're going back to Godhead. This is the important principle. Everything is based on this objective. We want to go back to Godhead, and to do that, everyone has their own contribution to make in society. Don't try and be a sannyasi. Like a Grihastha man shouldn't be like a sannyasi. Your wife is not your sannyas brahmachari servant. She's your partner. She's your well-wisher. She's your friend. She's your sannyas assistant. Grihastha man should also have affection and care for his wife. He should treat his wife with respect, with love. So this is the principle of happy relationship in the spiritual life. Does that help with the question at all? We sort of diverged into different topics, but they're tangentially related to the topic at hand. Mataji is happy with the answer.
Are you speaking, Mataji? I'm not able to hear you. No, you are not audible, Mataji.
She has to unmute her mic.
Okay, so Prabhuji, she's not, I think we are not able to hear her. She's trying, I think you have already answered, but she's typing to me that she wanted to know, is it better to marry someone who is like struggling like me to become fixed up, rather someone who is advanced than me, much better than me, so who can help me? So that was discussion. I think you have already mentioned that if we should look for someone who can help us.
Correct. If there's a huge difference between the level of advancement of the husband and wife on either side, if the husband are more advanced, the wife is less advanced, or wife is more advanced, husband is less advanced, then there'll be some incompatibility. There should be some basic compatibility. But a woman should be able to look up to her husband also. She should have respect for him. This is just practical advice in relationship.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. So one more question related to this only from one devotee. Mataji is asking that what if a wife sometimes feel that she is more advanced than her husband? So is it a aparadh? Is it an offense? So how should we avoid this mentality?
Okay, first thing is a devotee never thinks I'm advanced. A devotee thinks I'm so fallen. Patita pavana hetu tava avatar mo samo patita pavana. Narottam Das Thakur is saying that you're patita pavana, that you've come to uplift the patitas, the fallen persons. But if you examine me, you'll not find anyone as fallen as me. This is Narottam Das Thakur, eternal associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So what is advancement? Because you're a strict follower? Wife should also have compassion on husband's situation. If he's out working in the world, his wife can sit at home very nicely reading Prabhupada's books when her duties are done. Reading Prabhupada's books, chanting japa, listening to kirtan, talking devotees like this. And he's out associated with non-devotees, struggling to make a living. He may come home quite exhausted. Maybe he has trouble chanting his japa. You had all day to chant your japa. So be careful about this thing. Woman should not, if she's intelligent, even if she is more advanced, she should not post herself over her husband, because man's ego can't tolerate. That's my practical advice. Man's ego is there, and he can't tolerate. So, two things, be careful. What is advancement? Are you experiencing Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prema? Have you given up all your desires? Are you free from envy, lust, greed, fault finding? Mark your advancement in Krishna Bhakti by how much separation you feel from Krishna. Not by, because you chanted your rounds nicely every day for the last 5 years. Come to me, talk to me in 50 years after you've chanted your rounds nicely. So be careful, don't let pride is a very negative thing in relationship. Be humble with each other. My exalted godbrother, Shripad Gaur Govinda Maharaj, used to instruct his Grihastha disciples that in the morning, first thing, you offer obeisances to each other. That husband offers obeisances to wife also. Not just wife offers obeisances to husband. Oh, you're my pati guru. But husband should get over lording it over mentality also. There's a nice story. A young newlywed couple approached Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Number one, Sakshad Vairagya Murti, renounced sannyasi, Babaji. They said, Babaji Maharaj, please bless us. Please bless our union. So Babaji Maharaj says, I can bless you. He spoke to the husband. He said, you do this to get my blessing. You go to the market, Sabji Mandi, and you purchase vegetables. Then you bring them home and you cut them and you cook them, you prepare them, offer to Thakurji. Then you sit your wife down and serve her prasad. And when she is fully satisfied eating, then you eat her remnants. If you can do that, then you'll get my blessing. What is he saying? he's saying that a man has to give up his mentality of lording it over a woman. Because we're all Prakriti. We're all subordinate to Krishna. We're all female in relation to Krishna. And if a man thinks this one is the object of my sense gratification, then he can't make progress in spiritual life. So husband and wife should respect each other. So marry a man that you have respect for, and a man should respect his wife. Then there can be harmony. Instead of this, I'm great and you're small. How can you be happy? Because someone who's actually great thinks he's small. You understand? You look at the lives of all acharyas. The great acharyas think, I'm the Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I am more sinful than Jagai Madhai. I am lower than a worm in stool. Anyone who says my name becomes bereft. He destroys all his punya just by saying my name. And he's not just saying that, he feels that. He actually feels like this is the symptom of a great devotee. So be respectful. A great devotee means he can be small in front of other people. So don't be proud, because pride is a very negative emotion, especially in relationship between husband and wife. Hope that helps, answers your question. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. So one more
So,
question.
yes, my dear.
Yeah. So one more question, Prabhuji, I just received from one devotee. The question is that husband and wife are engaged in sense gratification in Grihastha Ashram and do spirituality also together. So how can they manage that they do sense gratification but still advance spiritually?
Okay, this is I find myself counseling a lot of devotees, men and women. When I come to Delhi, especially, I become friendly with many devotees, and they want to talk about the issues in their life. Many devotees come forward with this problem. If this is in your life, don't lament, don't freak out. I can't perfectly follow 4 rules and regulations. Devotees have trouble with 1, illicit sex. This is the intoxication, meeting. Okay, so what? This is a thing of the past. We didn't know better. But this is the most powerful driving force in human psyche. Attract yuvatinam yata yuni yunam cha yuvato pumsastriya mitani bhavame tattora hridaya grantamahu. Hridaya grantam, it binds man's heart, gets bound up by woman. Woman's heart gets bound up by men. They want to love each other, touch each other, enjoy sense gratification. This is, the whole world is going on by this. So just because you've entered Grihastha Ashram, you're going to become free from that? Not possible. Not possible. So Krishna gives very important advice to Uddhava. The 11th canto, I'll read the translation. I anticipated this question, so I pulled the verse from Bhagavatam. You can read it. There's a very nice purport also. Take note, 11th canto, chapter 20, verses 27 and 28. There's a very nice instructive purport to this verse also. So the translation says, having awakened faith in the narrations of my glories, Krishna speaking to Uddhava, being disgusted with all material activities, knowing that all sense gratification leads to misery, but still being unable to renounce all sense enjoyment, my devotee should remain happy and worship me with great faith and conviction. Even though he is sometimes engaged in sense enjoyment, my devotee knows that all sense gratification leads to a miserable result, and he sincerely repents of such activities. This is very, very instructive verse. Krishna is saying, Tatoba Jeta Mam Prita. They go on in my service. Krishna Bhakti is very, very powerful. By accepting that, we become free from the desire for sense gratification. There is no other, there's no other solution. There's no other medicine. Can you take a pill to become free from lust? Is there some special yogic asana you can become free from lust? Some breathing exercise? There's only one solution, and that is Krishna Bhakti. And that takes time. It takes time. It's not that because you shaved your head or put on a sari and put a tilak and kanti mala, now I'm free from lust. Lust is still there. We have a process. We have a process to become free from lust, and it takes time. So Krishna is saying here, a devotee, by our intellectual acumen, by our intellectual understanding, can appreciate what is the point of sense gratification. I'm not this body, I'm not these senses, I'm not this mind. We can understand intellectually. But when it comes right down to it, we still enjoy sense gratification until we become Krishna conscious. And Krishna consciousness takes time. So what to do in the meantime? You continue taking the medicine. There's no other cure. The problem is that we become depressed by sense gratification. And he says here, my devotee knows that all sense gratification leads to a miserable result. And he sincerely repents such activities. So the day will come, why am I doing this? Over and over, I just become miserable. Why am I doing this? And you stop. But until that day comes, don't pretend. Don't pretend to be something you're not. We're sadhakas. We're trying to make progress in spiritual life. And this is the medicine. There's no other medicine for lust than chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is the medicine. But the problem is, Bogai Swarja Prasaktanam Taya Prapita Chetasam Bebasayatmika Buddhi Samadhu Navadiyate. That by Boga and Aiswarja, we lose our attraction for the process. So this is the struggle that neophyte devotees undergo. We become tackled by our senses, and we engage in sense gratification. Then we become depressed. Oh, I'm such a bad devotee. I don't feel like chanting. I don't feel like going to the temple. And then you become more prone to sense gratification. We have to be determined, drida vrata, to accept the medicine of Krishna Bhakti. So this is actually being being guilt-stricken, being full of guilt that I can't be perfectly Krishna conscious. I can't perfectly control my senses is more dangerous than not controlling your senses. You understand what I'm saying? The guilt involved in a fall down is more dangerous because that guilt can drag you away from Krishna Bhakti. The guilt can make you think, I'm such a bad devotee. What is the point of even trying? We have to keep trying. There's a nice verse that says, Bhumaus kalita padanam, bhumiriva balambanam, tvayi jata paradhanam, tameva sharanam prabhu. This means that if you're walking on the ground and you trip on the ground and stumble and fall, if you want to continue walking, what other shelter do you have but the ground? You have to get up and continue walking on the ground. In the same way, a devotee prays, even though I make offenses to you day and night, thousands of offenses I make to you, I have no other shelter. Even though I offend you, there's no other shelter but you. So you go on in your Krishna Bhakti, you go on taking the medicine, visiting the temple, serving devotees, chanting japa, reading books, practicing, remembering Krishna, praying to Krishna, Navavidha Bhakti, 9 processes of Krishna Bhakti. This is the medicine. There is no other medicine to become free from lust. But before you're free from lust, you have to continue taking the medicine. Otherwise, what is the hope? There is no hope. So reflect on this verse, and I would direct you to take time and read. It's a lengthy purport, but very instructive purport. But Tatoba Jaita Mam Prita. Krishna says, just remain happy and worship me with great faith. Maintain your faith and continue in your Krishna Bhakti, even though you may not perfectly follow all the instructions given to us by Srila Prabhupada and our ISKCON Acharyas. Hope that makes sense to you. Important topic.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes. Thank you for explaining so much of it. Yeah. So Prabhuji, we can go.
Especially newlyweds. I mean, let's be honest. You know, you're getting married because you have sex desire. So you're newlywed and you're in your new ashram together, man, and you're not going to touch each other. In my experience, talking to, and in my own practical experience also, honestly, devotees do not follow perfectly their whole life. You can count devotees who perfectly followed rules and regulations their whole life perfectly on one hand. Everyone has a brush with sense gratification. So we get over it. That's all. Be sincere about Krishna Bhakti and get over it. Because the day will come that you're free. And this is the meaning of Grihastha Ashram. Because there's many varieties of illicit sex, correct? Rape is illicit sex. Pornography, prostitution, pedophilia, sex outside of marriage. It's all illicit sex, correct? But there's varieties of illicit sex also. One time, Srila Prabhupada was told one of his disciples went to a prostitute to satisfy his lusty desire with a prostitute. Prabhupada's comment is, why did he do that? He has a wife. He has a wife. So illicit sex within Dharma is small s, small e, small x, not capital S, capital E, capital X, prostitution, sex outside of marriage. It's within the constraint of Dharma. It's an obstacle to Krishna Bhakti. I'm not saying don't follow the rules. Don't misunderstand me. But follow the rules according to your ability to follow the rules. And don't give up the process. So these things should be understood. Very important topic.
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji. So it happens that some of the devotees understand that just reading Prabhupada books are that the illicit sex is no illicit sex. Sorry, it's mean just to have sex for the procreation, and some of the devotees, like one of the devotee from the husband and wife, like they want to be strict and the other one don't want to be, so that create the complication in the relationship. So as you so if you can just guide on this, some that how should they manage with each other?
This is a difficult question. Prabhupada presented the highest standard for a reason. He knew perfectly well, back up to United States of America, early 70s. Passionate Americans who have following no principles whatsoever. And all of a sudden, now there are these rules, sex is only for babies. Is it possible that everyone followed strictly? It's not possible. This is a fact. Now, in relation to this exact question, that typically is husband who has more sexual appetite than wife. But a wife should understand that she has to keep her husband under control. Do you want him going to a prostitute? Do you want him going to another woman? Someone else's wife? Some young girl? This is, don't be so strict that you lose your husband. This is also an important thing. And again, this is illicit sex in the strict definition. If you're having sex because of your desire to enjoy the sexual experience. This is illicit sex by Srila Prabhupada's strict definition. And this is Bhagavatam also. This isn't Prabhupada's fanaticism. This is Bhagavatam. 11th canto describes that one should not approach his wife until she is fertile. There's only 2 or 3 days where she can conceive a child. So Bhagavatam says that one should go at that time, Gantu. Gantu means when she's fertile. This is Bhagavatam's definition, not Srila Prabhupada's fanaticism. But this is the highest standard also. This is the highest standard. If a man can't follow or a woman can't follow, the opposite partner should be understanding of that and be compassionate. Okay, you need that to go on in your Krishna Bhakti. I can give that to you. And this is an obstacle to our progress in spiritual life, but one can cultivate an internal mood of Krishna Bhakti. That this is ultimately for stability in my ashram. For stability in my ashram. That my husband doesn't deviate or my wife doesn't deviate. They go looking for another partner. They do some other nonsense thing. They get involved in pornography. Because this is another big maya, especially with young men. I also counsel young men. The internet is full of garbage. They say half of all internet traffic is this garbage, useless, degrading pornography that exploits the body of woman, the image of the body of woman. So if to avoid that, to make progress, there's Grihastha, Ashram. Don't be so strict you lose your husband, or so strict you lose your wife. Love each other, care for each other, and be compassionate to the other person, that they can be sheltered in the relationship. Again, I'm not advocating complete wanton sex every night type relationship. That will not help you in your spiritual life. Regulate your activities in Krishna Bhakti and make progress, because the goal is to give it up. That we have to acknowledge. The goal is to give up illicit sex. If someone can't, then wife should be a little compassionate, or husband should be a little compassionate, and keep stability in the marriage. Don't lose your wife or don't lose your husband over this thing. That's a controversial topic, but that's my perspective.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Anyone has any question on this topic or anything?
So we can either continue or we can pick up tomorrow as the devotees like. I'm free, but devotees may have other responsibilities. So according to your need, we can continue or we can pick up tomorrow. That's up to the consensus of opinion.
Yes, Prabhuji. Maybe we can continue tomorrow.
Third question we haven't touched. Okay, so we haven't touched third question. This is also a very important discussion.
Yes, we can continue that tomorrow. So just wanted to ask that if any devotee has any question for the topics that we covered today, so maybe they can ask in another 5 minutes, or if not, then we can wrap up here. Yeah, so Prabhuji, I haven't received any questions, so maybe we can continue tomorrow only.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And devotees can think over discussion today and be ready with questions tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll start tomorrow with the third question. Okay?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Pancha kalpatu Vaishnavibhyo.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you for your guidance. Hare Krishna.